Thank you.
And we are live. Here we are, another Monday, another episode of Brownish Live. You guys know my co-host, the beautiful, the talented Sasha Merci. Oh, it's this way. Sasha Merci. You would think after all these episodes, I would know. It's that way.
It's this way.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. I am super busy because we're going to start filming Like, Share, Dímelo on Wednesday. Ooh. So I am very excited about that. Also very exhausted, but it's good. And I've just been renovating my apartment, you know.
Rich people problems. You know, the renovations, some side productions.
Well, you know. So, I waited so long to be in this situation, but it's still like, it's funny because now I'm learning how to appreciate the little things, right? Like, making sure, I can cook, making sure that I can decorate, make sure that things, so I just appreciate the little things.
Okay. What are you renovating? Can I ask? What are you renovating?
Well, I'm going to renovate my patio. It was so dull and boring. I'm going to take a picture and then I'm going to show you. But I think that a lot of things I've been doing have been a lot of DIYs, right? And I feel like because of everything that's going on, it's so good for me to distract myself and do things. Adulthood.
Hashtag adulthood. I gotta redo my patio.
I have to, but it has brought me a lot of patience and peace, and it's comforting. Yeah. So I don't know if maybe in the future I'm gonna start doing DIYs to help people. Everything you need is right here.
Right. I'm a big believer. It's so funny. During this whole lockdown, I keep telling people you have to create a space where you feel comfortable.
Right.
And it's tough now because we never leave this space. You're always home. Right. So try to create a separate space for you. Going back to adulthood, this is what I did this weekend. Yeah. I went down a rabbit hole because I was like, the boys are going to start school and they're starting school at home.
Okay.
So we're trying to set up a classroom space for them. This office that I broadcast in, my wife broadcast, she does her work here.
So you're going to be the teacher? Who's going to be the teacher?
You looking at him. Professor Rivera.
They're gonna be great. They're gonna be well-rounded and they're gonna be funny as heck. So
I apologize to all the teachers in the following years because I'm probably gonna teach them some wrong stuff. So I apologize now. I'm apologizing now.
I'm also really feeling that light that you have right now. It's just making your skin glow, your eyes, everything. You're looking really dapper, my friend.
Thank you. So this is the rabbit hole I went down because I was like, I'd like to have my own space. That way me and my wife don't have to constantly change. The boys have their classroom and I'm not just at the dining room table. I was like, I wonder if I could buy a shed and create an office. And then I found prefabricated office sheds. Girl, this is what I've been doing all weekend. And I'm looking at them. This is how I know I'm older now, and I guess I'm an adult. I'm looking at these prefabricated sheds like they're Jordans. I'm like, yo, look at this one right here.
Exactly.
Double pane windows?
Yep.
That's great.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what makes me happy. Able to do little shit like that. But so what have you been building? What are you gonna build?
Not yet, but I'm trying to figure out an office space for myself. I'm either gonna start working, I do a DIY in our garage that's not finished, or I'm legit looking at these sheds. They're little 10 by 10 sheds where you could have an office, just somewhere I can go, write. It's not escape the house, but change the scenery and get the creative stuff done. Because sometimes it's hard to I'm working on stuff. The kids are asking me for stuff. My wife's like, hey, what's happening here? The dog, I just need a space for myself where I can focus and just get stuff done.
Hey, look at us. We're going back to the Stone Ages when people used to have to make their own stuff.
Yeah.
Now we have to build our home, build our little huts away from everybody. It's a lot, but it's good. That really brings me therapy. Makes me a lot of therapy.
Well, I want to get this show started because we've got an amazing guest coming in.
Yes.
I say that about every guest, but I swear this guest makes me so happy. I met her a couple months ago at a table read for a project I'm working on, that I'm currently working on. Can't say too much, top secret.
Ooh.
Ooh. But I was blown away by her, just her whole energy, her aura, just the way she carried herself. I started following her on Instagram, and I love following her on Instagram because she's got one of those accounts that like she lets you into her life. She's very positive, and she's also vegan, which I want to get into with her too, because like I've always had like these misconceptions, like these ideas of what veganism is, but she makes it look dope. So without further ado, you guys are going to have so much fun with her. You know her from CW's Roswell, New Mexico, ABC's Grand Hotel. Let's give it up for Justina Adorno.
Oh my God, what an introduction. I'm over here like, me? Oh my God.
Yes.
Hi, y'all.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Just, taking in today's energy.
Right.
It feels like a Monday. It feels like a Monday, and I haven't felt a Monday in a long time, as I'm sure a lot of us haven't.
Right. Have your days been mixed up because of the quarantine? Like sometimes you wake up, it's like, it's Wednesday, and you're like, oh no, it's Friday.
Oh yeah. I've been like, wait, what's today? I've missed people's birthdays because I'm just kind of like lost in time, which is a good and a bad thing,
Yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah, Sasha a couple weeks ago texted me, "I'm here," and I was like, "Wait, what?"
I knew he was gonna say that.
I'm here.
Yeah.
On Monday, and I got that text on a Saturday. I went outside. I was like, "Is she here?"
Man,
I'm
So
so excited to be here, though.
you like, I love your Instagram account. You have been so, number one, you're so positive. You're constantly like checking in on mental health, physical health, and you're like, you'll do IG lives where you're just like talking to people and just having fun, and it makes me happy. Like, is that strange to say? Like, I love tuning in.
I appreciate you like jumping into my live and like, tapping into the positivity. I try to keep my Instagram as if like it's a place where I meet my friends and like share things with my friends that I think that it's important to share, mostly good, because we all love to talk about the negative, negativity, and as much as I do find it important to address those things, I think it's even more important to focus on the positive.
Right. Yeah, I always find like people on social media is like, oh, you're just too positive. It's like, well, positivity is a lot harder than negativity. It's easy to go negative.
It's true.
Yeah. We could live in that negative bubble all day long. Like we could go down that train, but how productive is that?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not.
Yeah. And it's always like, people that are usually negative, they always look at the negative of the things that they want to. It's like, don't you want it? Don't you understand that everything that you want is going to need maintenance? So not like you're going to have it and then it's going to be like, oh yeah, it's going to stay like this forever, pristine and beautiful. Like, you want abs, you got to work for it every day. Even though working out, ab work sucks, but it's like you either push through. And right now I think that it's a perfect time to like push through into the things you want to do.
100%. Like I use that example a lot. I always say like, okay, well, let's use veganism as an example.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, well, you go to the gym and you work out one day, you're not expecting abs that day, are you? Are you expecting it in a week? You shouldn't. Are you expecting it in a month? Like, it takes time. Things take time. And so like I approach veganism that way. For some people, I approach literally life, relationships that way. I'm like, it's not gonna always be like instant. You're there, and like you said, it's an everyday choice. It's not gonna be there once you go there once. It's a continuous practice of choosing to make the right choice, whether that be positivity, veganism, taking a step in the direction to forward your career, making the relationship you have or once had even stronger. It's all up to you, and it's in your hands, and it doesn't happen overnight.
I have a question. How has veganism changed your life?
That's a big question.
Oh, Answer whatever you can.
It's huge. Like I could answer that question in like 8 hours. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's helped me be more grounded in who I truly am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always talked about how much I've loved animals since I was a child. Like I loved telling stories and I loved talking with animals, talking about animals, and trying to understand animals. And you know, it wasn't until I was like 15 that it really like slapped me in the face of like, whoa, my actions are directly affecting these animals in the most negative way, which is death, you know, torture and death. And I battled with like being committed to the lifestyle since I was 15. Like I was vegetarian. I didn't even know what veganism was. I didn't know that the dairy industry and the egg industry was so terrifying. You know, it's just disruptive. And it wasn't until about almost 3 years ago that I actually said, okay, this is not about me. Oh, this is hard for me. You know, this is their reality. And I'm no longer going to be selfish, and I'm no longer going to say things that my actions don't back up. And so I decided to finally make the lifestyle change, you know, and not be afraid of that. Because I think that's the biggest thing. People fear all this change. And we know food is a big social thing. And it's a part of like our memories, you know, at least for me, you know, like growing up, like food was like the central focus in my life. Yeah. So I felt like part of my identity or my social norms would dramatically change, and you know, it would be a battle. But I'm at the place where thinking about eating an animal or buying anything that comes from an animal, as far as like leather shoes or, you know, a down jacket, it's just not even a second. It's not even an option anymore. And I never thought that I would be in that place. Like truly, like nobody believes me. I'm like, I wasn't born vegan. You know, it was my choice. And it took a while for me to understand the reasons why I wanted to do it, you know? And I think that's the thing. You have to understand why you want to do this.
And do you remember the moment that you committed to the transition of no longer eating meat? Like, do you remember that day, or like, how did you feel?
I do. Because I would say I'm vegan and try to do it. And then I would forget to read a label. And I'm like, holy crap, this has eggs and milk in it. Oh, well, I'm already eating it, and would continue. And it wasn't until I saw this picture on Instagram, and it was of a cow, a pig, a chicken on one side. And then on the other side was a human, a dog and a cat with forks and knives in their hands. In that moment, and excuse me, because I might get emotional. I get emotional when I talk about veganism, because it's just kind of like,
that's good. Like it's something you believe in, and there's passion behind it.
It's just how we've been conditioned to think that it's okay, especially the way we're doing it now. It just clicked in my head right there that I was putting more value into one animal as opposed to another, just because I've spent more time with a cat or a dog. Like, just because you know something doesn't mean the unknown isn't as valuable. And you know, that moment I was like, wow, why do I think that eating a dog is outrageous, but eating a pig isn't? Like I should be upset about this fully, not for a second feel bad to make other people feel uncomfortable, to feel like I have to justify a creature's pain, you know? And so like that was literally the moment when I was like, I'm done being selfish, and I'm done letting fear and change control what my soul genuinely believes as what the right thing is, you know?
Yeah, I think that's interesting because, well, let's shout out Claudia. She says, I'm right there with you, Justina, on veganism.
Yes, Claudia.
Yeah, no, I think that also like it is it has a lot to do with your values and like moral compass as well, right? Because I do struggle with it. I'm not gonna lie, I still eat meat, but I think there are moments where I'm like, I don't want to do it, or like I'll look at the label, but I'm like in between. But like those values and those morals that you carry, like how do you instill this in your career and in your everyday life?
Well, first I would say to anyone who does want to be animal cruelty free, I would say to always say the truth. Like, it's no longer meat. It's a pig. It's a cow. It's a chicken. Like, we've normalized saying chicken, but we haven't normalized saying cows and pigs and goats' milk, like breast milk. You know, I was watching Zac Efron's Down to Earth show the other night, and he had a moment where he was milking a goat, and he was like, this feels wrong, like this is awkward, even though he's seeing this goat in particular isn't being tortured or anything, but he feels like he's violating their person, you know, like he's violating them. And then to drink it, he was kind of like, can I drink this? And it's like, what? That's the freshest you're gonna get, kid. You know, like all the other added preservatives and toxic things on top of drinking exploited mommy breast milk, you know, like, and it just made me go like, wow, this is the disconnect. And so I try to, in my platform, share those moments that I still have those aha moments. I stopped feeling, what's the word, for lack of a better term, apologetic for requesting I only be, you know, made up with vegan makeup and vegan hair products. You know, there have been moments where I've been looked at like, excuse me, but it's like, well, I really believe that if we can have animal cruelty vegan products, why not? And they're out there. So why not use those brands that are being forward and, you know, showing us that there is another option. And that's the biggest thing. There's always there's so many options. We don't have to use animals.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I found out? This is real quick. I found out cement.
What?
Cement, you need bones to create cement.
Girl, and why? We probably don't. We don't
do it anymore. I think we use plexiglass. But I'm thinking like, yo, back in the day, what bones were they using? Were they using bones? How old is this building? You know, like,
that's so weird. And like, we don't think about those things, but we exploit animals in so many ways. It's insane. But look, now they use plexiglass. Like, that's another direction I'm going in, like being as eco-friendly as possible and reusing things, repurposing things. Like, look, I saw this video of like them creating houses of plastic bottles, and like it was super cheap and super functional and beautiful and creative. And I was like, wow, we're solving two problems at once.
Right.
Like, why can't we always think about that when we are creating, you know, like how can we solve our problems and be creative and, you know.
Now, what's the biggest misconception you think there is about veganism? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes I can find myself to be ignorant. And that's why, like, once I started following you, like whenever I heard veganism, I was like, oh, you're just eating the tofu.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. But like, I'm not gonna lie, you did a video once where you made this mushroom sandwich. And when I tell you, I almost licked my phone screen. Like, the way she was eating it too, and it was like dripping on her hand. She's like, it was like food porn, Sasha. I was just like, oh my God, take that bread off, take that. Like, I was talking to her like it was a dirty movie. Take that lettuce, move that lettuce. Oh.
I still dream about that sandwich. That was a bomb sandwich.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh my God, like this is not what I thought it was. Like,
yeah. Well, I think one of the common misconceptions of veganism is that there's like a few. So one, that you only eat tofu and lettuce, you know, salads all day. 2, that it's expensive.
Right.
And 3, that it's healthy. That the veganism means health.
Right.
Okay. So I just think
I was like,
so one to the first one. Wait, what was my first one?
no, when you were saying that
Tofu and lettuce.
Yeah,
Tofu and lettuce.
That's not true. Especially maybe like 5-6 years ago, it wasn't very common to go into your grocery store and see, you know, vegan breads or deli meats, you know, like, or, you know, sausages, all the things that we eat now. But it is out there. I mean, I eat burgers, I eat pizza, I eat ice cream, I eat donuts, I have, you know, pho. I eat literally any cuisine you love and enjoy now. I've had probably, in my opinion, better. You know,
yeah, there's some companies out there, like my kids love donuts, but we go to this place called Pho Nuts.
Okay.
And they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
So just like, oh, this is the same thing. And they love it. And I'm just like, cool. I went to a party once. I had what I thought was carnitas tacos. It was jackfruit.
wow.
No idea. I ate like 4 of them. I was like, this is the best carnitas I've ever had. And they're like, yeah, that's not even meat, man. I was like, what?
I think if most people had a vegan meal without knowing that it is, they'd be pleasantly surprised. You know?
I think that once you tell people, like, oh, I'm going to make you a vegan meal, like, man, get out of here. And they just try to find reasons why not to like it.
Exactly. And that goes for everything, right? Like you're told one thing and you're kind of rebelling towards it. You're going to go into it with a preconceived, you know, judgment.
Yeah.
Like, did you have that problem, like when, you know, you decide to go vegetarian at first and then go vegan, with like the cultural, like, because growing up, I remember sushi was like something looked down upon, right? No, I'm not. Eso no está cocinado. That's ridiculous. Like, it was ridiculous to my family. How you're gonna eat uncooked? Oh, so what am I paying for? It's not cooked. And then you grow up and you make these choices and you're like, oh, that's that preconceived. It's almost like ignorance. I'm not calling my parents ignorant, but to them it's like, oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like, when you decided to make that choice, like culturally, was that something like you battled within your family of like, Justina, what are you doing to us? Come on.
Right.
I will say that it was difficult for me my early years when I was vegetarian, and even until like the first year of me being vegan, I had to literally not go home for Thanksgiving because I knew I was going to be triggered. And I would mentally go to those places that I have before. Like Thanksgiving was always my weakness. I remember I was like vegetarian for like a year or something, super strong. And then Thanksgiving happened and my family's like, no one's going to know. No one's going to know. And at the time, I guess I wasn't mentally there. Obviously, it wasn't mentally there and I wasn't strong enough, but it's like, I would know. And that's not the point if everyone doesn't know, but I caved. And it was always difficult because, you know, as brown people, you know, my family put an animal product in everything that didn't even need one. Like the rice and beans will have a little bit of salchicha in it. And, you know, like we can make potato salad without, you know, cow's milk, but yet, you know, cow's milk was there. There's so many butters that we've been using all our lives that doesn't have, you know, dairy in it, yet they would use that one. So it was always difficult for me to find my way around the dining room table without feeling like I was the odd one out, when in reality, it is kind of odd to eat a pig's ass. You know what I mean? Like that is weird, y'all. You know what I mean? So it was really difficult, but as I got older and I actually became vegan and changed my lifestyle, my family really saw the change in me. And my mom, she really like tries to be plant-based for like the majority of her week. Like she'll like have cheese and I'm like, Mom, that is probably the worst. But like she's really trying. And like when I was there for like a month, she was just like all vegan out. Like that it wasn't even an option. And now she loves this restaurant I found in South Carolina that she's like obsessed with. It's called A Piece of Soul. You know, it's a Black owned restaurant and vegan. And I was like, let's go there. So, you know, they're right next to your job. There's this awesome vegan spot. And now she's obsessed. My dad, he went through a healthier route. He took, you know, veganism, and then he went like strictly like juicing and finding all these exotic like plants that you juice, and he's lost like 60 pounds effortlessly, just like being healthy. For him, it became about health and connecting with me, you know, less about the animals. But yeah, and like now my dad, he like has nothing, he can't wear any of his clothes because he looks amazing. I'm not gonna lie. And so like at first it was a hard thing with my family, and now it's something that they see as a way to get close with me and to understand me. And now they're seeing the options everywhere, and so like they're more open to it, and now they see how easy it is. And I just want to encourage everyone to understand that in any aspect in your life, you can be the leader, and you can be the leader. And you can say, hey, friends, we're going to go to this vegan restaurant. Hey, family, I'm going to prepare this vegan meal. And you can break the pattern, you know, whether that be veganism or something completely different. You can always make the choice to be progressive and selfless and share that knowledge with the people you care about. Because for the most part, we're all just looking for encouragement, right? To be better or to do better for the world and each other. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so also, like, I didn't understand the concept of veganism until I moved to California. And California, they, you know, they really embrace that culture. And I've been to so many restaurants that are animal free and have no meat, no type of meat, and their food tastes delicious. I had a friend that he cooked for me, and he made, what was it, like jack pepper cheese, but out of cashews.
Yeah.
It was so good. But the thing is that also people don't know, especially like in the East Coast, like it's very hard to find really good vegan restaurants. It's very hard to find places where they are really embracing the vegan culture. And if there is a restaurant in New York City, there's probably like a line all the way down like 3-4 blocks because it's not that prominent over there. So people are not really understanding either. Like, yo, it's not, if you're afraid because it's not going to taste good, it's really about the seasoning. It's not about the actual thing you're eating. So yeah,
it is about the seasoning. If you took a piece of body flesh, it's not going to taste good the way it is.
Yeah,
you're going to season it, you're going to cook it, you're going to prepare it. And that's the same as veganism. You take mushrooms and you season them, you saute them, you fry them, whatever it is you would do with the animal, you could do it with vegetables. And I think people just get nervous and make excuses. And New York is actually #1 in the country, I think, with vegan foods, not LA, surprisingly.
Really? That's interesting. And
it's just like, you know, it makes me sad because whenever back to the misconceptions, #2 was that it's expensive. And back when I first was like, I'm going to, you know, do this for the animals, that's it. I had no money. I was like, maybe $100 in my bank account and living paycheck to paycheck. And I was literally, you know, let's stick to the culture. I was eating plátanos with onions and avocado and mushrooms and black beans, you know, like that was like one of my staples. And, you know, I think we make excuses, you know, as to why we can't make the change, or it would take so long. I can't cook that for that long. And it's like, just like, let's break it down. How long are you cooking and how much are you spending? I promise you can do the exact same thing, maybe even cheaper if you stick to whole foods. Now, yes, if you're buying Beyond Meat and Impossible, yes, those things are expensive, but I don't necessarily recommend that either. I don't recommend soy and gluten and all that stuff. Now, if you need that meat substitute, if you want that kind of, you know, element in your meal, then yeah, do that. And they are pretty good. I don't recommend a lot of it. And I think a whole food, plant-based diet is key. I mean, that's my direction. I'll still eat processed stuff, but like I want to fully be in the place where it is about health,
right.
Animals and health now, and just like stick to just fruits and vegetables, because damn it, that is what they're here for. That's what's actually going to keep us healthy and alive and creating food like even more exciting, you know.
Right.
Never cook.
I think a lot of times you get those people like, oh, it's so expensive. I think it's just the fear. Like a lot of those come from a fear. You know, I've had conversations with my family where I have cousins and stuff, and I'm like, if you look at our patterns, we're all cyclical. Like a lot of us are just repeating what our parents taught us and what their parents taught them. So like that's why you'll see, like, you know, if your parents didn't have like the greatest marriage, you repeat that and you get into a marriage that you're not happy in. And same thing with diet. Like I remember when I moved to LA and started cleaning up my diet of like, oh, I shouldn't be eating so many fried foods, or shouldn't be eating this, or shouldn't be eating that. You know, you go back home and right away it's like, oh, mira, Mr. Hollywood here.
Yeah.
No, this is better for you. And then as those people start seeing those changes, then their tune starts changing, and they start, you know, like, oh, okay, let's try this. Like I remember a big thing was like I got made fun of, like, you know, organic fruits and vegetables. Oh, organic, mira. And it's like, no, the pesticides, all that stuff is bad for you, and you see it affects like the children, it affects people around us. Like it's not good, you know.
Yeah, and the crazy part of that is that like it may not have been that way 15 years ago, but our industry, the food industry, has become so toxic that now we have to really be aware of all those things, and now we have to like triple check, you know, unfortunately, and just like you said, share the knowledge.
Yeah, and Justina, you made a really great point as saying like food becoming part of our identity and culture, right? So it's like you feel like this betrayal to your family if, you know, they're cooking meat and you're like, I don't want to eat meat, and they're like, oh my God, I slaved in the stove for you. I can't even believe you're doing. So it's like, who are you now? And that's why I made that face earlier, because people think that vegan equals health. So I'm like. It doesn't, because if you go to Veggie Grill and you eat Veggie Grill every day and you eat Impossible Burgers every day, that's not healthy, baby. Look at the store.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But it's a step. You know, I think I have my vegan Instagram account, which I don't use as much as I want to. But my handle is just in a vegan journey, because it is a journey. You know, it's not black and white. Everyone's journey looks different. And, you know, at first you get into and you're eating the burgers, you're eating this so you can get comfortable with the transition. And then I believe that there is also a point where once that happens and you are living there, you realize, okay, wow, I need to be healthy. You know, and then it's like going back to basics and going back to my normal, like, fruits and vegetables at the base of everything, you know.
The fact that you had your whole family, like your immediate family, to be able to be more plant-based is very inspiring, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
It's true. Like sometimes we feel like we're gonna be the odd one out, but then you come to realize that you're the one who's actually creating change even within your family. So that's great. I
always felt like the odd one out, and like I never cared. I'm like, I'm vegan, you're gonna deal with it. You know? Like I never like to deal with the comments, you know, like, what's that? I'm like, broccoli? You know that it's broccoli. You know, I'm like, why are y'all acting like you don't know what fruits and vegetables are? And if you don't, that is a red flag. We should know fruits and vegetables. We should know how to cook and create meals solely on fruits and vegetables. I mean, come on.
Well, I want to switch gears a little bit here, because you said your parents are in South Carolina. Now,
my mom's in South Carolina, my dad's in New York.
So you were born in the Bronx.
Yes.
At what age did you move to South Carolina?
11.
11. And what brought about that move?
My parents split up. And so my mom's family slowly was migrating from the Bronx to Columbia, South Carolina, because one of my aunts married a man who was in the military, and they have a big base there. And so my mom was like, you know, growing up, she's like, wow, we can have a yard. We can have a house. Okay, like maybe I should leave completely for another life for my children. So
what was it like growing up in South Carolina for you?
Oof, it was all over the place. I have a love-hate relationship with South Carolina because I loved it because I got the freedom that I wouldn't have gotten if I lived in the Bronx. My mom would have been like, you're not going anywhere.
Okay.
You know, but I always knew that I was not going to stay there, and it wasn't my place. You know, I was like, okay, let's get the heck out of here. All growing up, I'm like, when am I going to get out of here? Just know I'm not living here. I'm going to be in New York, you know, like I like instantly knew like I'm here temporarily. And it was great because I had my mom's family, my cousins. It was amazing. I got to go to certain programs in schools because my mom always wanted me to be in a focused program, you know. So I was in this leadership program in middle school, which really helped me figure out that I wanted to be an actor. I would never forget 6th grade. Like they were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? We had to draw ourselves and what we wanted to be and why. And I drew an actor. And I was like John Travolta, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I made it happen. I started studying it. I went to a boarding art school in South Carolina for acting. And it was all fun until I went to boarding school. And I was like, okay.
How was boarding school? What is boarding like?
So I lived there.
Okay.
So I went to my last 2 years of high school. I went to a boarding art school where you could study acting, dance, visual arts, poetry, and like all the spectrum of what music is. Right. And so I went for acting, which was a crazy experience. And then I studied it in college. And as soon as I graduated, I moved back to New York.
Now, mom, during all of this and family, all supportive of the acting dream?
Always, always. I mean, they've always supported me because I was so passionate and I felt so strongly about it. And they were like, this crazy girl, she's good. She knows how to be a crazy person. They're like, okay, yeah, she nailed the witch. She is a psycho.
No.
But they always had in the back of my mind, like, remember, like, you should have a backup plan. And since I was young, I was like, backup plan, excuse me. Like, I don't know what that is, you know? Yeah. But they always supported me. My mom came to every performance, everything I was a part of, and seeing, and my godmother did too. And like seeing them see the potential in me made me always go, I got this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you'll see what I'm saying? Okay, great. You know, like it can only happen to, you know, it's 1 in a million. And I think it's important if you have that passion to believe that you are 1 in a million, because there's lots of millions of people here. So your chances are much higher than you think. And just like believe in yourself. And I'm very grateful I had a family that like very much supported me. Always.
So now you move back to New York. What's the first thing you book where you go, guys, here it goes? I knew it.
The first thing I booked that I was like, well, I'm very hard on myself. So any like commercial I did, my parents would want to, exclaim it around the world. And I'm like, you guys, this is not a big deal. We're not talking about this commercial. And they're like, but everybody saw it. It's national. And I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, I never had that feeling until I think Grand Hotel.
Okay.
Yes.
That I was like, okay. Because I knew as an actor, I was going to be challenged. So that was what was important to me. But I booked commercials. I did a lot of background work, extra work, stand-in work. And those moments were super exciting for me. I love just being a part of the process. Like, I would always recommend anybody who wants to be an actor to do background work, Don't be above anything, you know, like if you love the industry and you want this, you should understand every element, and you should appreciate people who are in the background creating the world, and you get to be a part of that. So, and you get to learn the terminology. You know, I come from a theater background and never studied acting on camera.
Right.
Really? Okay.
No, never.
So was that difficult? Were there things that you needed to learn different? Was there,
Not really. I was always told in my acting schools that I would be better in camera because I, kept it all here, but it wasn't until a couple summers before I booked the Netflix show as a part of 7 Seconds. The summer before that, I was taking a lot of workshops with casting directors. So it was really important for me to hear their feedback while I was doing my work, to see those little things that I didn't think mattered, but it makes the biggest difference for them.
Right.
And hearing their good feedback made me realize I need to bring more confidence when I walk into the room, because I do got it. I do have it. I just need to remember that. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like walking into the room and knowing that your choices for this character is your choice. And if it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work for them. And that is okay. That's a part of the process. You just have to make a choice and feel confident with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question, because what advice would you give to like up and coming actors or people that aspire to be actors, right? Because just how you were saying, like, it's your choice. You're the one who creates the character. Where does that foundation come from to create that character?
It comes from you. It comes from you. Truly, it's so important to fully understand this. When people say you've got to love yourself first before you love someone else, I think you got to love yourself before you do anything else. And you've got to know yourself before you do anything else, because that is what's going to make you stand out from everyone else. If you're confident in yourself, if you believe in yourself, if you know who you are and what you have to offer, people are going to gravitate towards you. People are going to look at you. People are going to listen to you because they feel like they could trust you. Right. And casting directors want to feel like they could trust you, that you're going to go into the room, you understand this character, and you're going to show up. And that's my biggest advice, is to like really understand who you are, what you have to bring to the table. You read your character and you bring yourself to as much as possible, because I think that's important. You have to understand this person's story as if it were your own. So if you understand you, and if you were in this situation, how would you react? How would you feel using these words in these relationships? And I think that's really important. I think once I really like accepted just like how I see things and like my perspective when I read a character, that's when things started moving. And even a casting director told me that one time. She was like, Justina, and this was after Grand Hotel in Roswell. She was like, I want you to know that your choice is going to make you book it. Don't think of how they want this character to be, how you think other people are going to, assess this character. Do you, like, do what you're going to bring, because that's why they're calling you in.
Right.
Don't second guess that. And I think that's so important, because we always want to like please, right? Like, right. This is what they want, please book me. And it's like, no, how do you see it? Because the last thing you want is to get booked as a character and you have no idea who this person is. You're like scrambling, trying to figure out this person's perspective, and you cannot connect. Like, that's not going to be fun on set. You want to book a character that you connect with and that you see, and that it's going to flow out of you and you can develop,
Agreed.
And not force things, like that's the biggest thing, is forcing things.
Well, here we got a question in the chat. Do you think we have mentorship in the Latino community?
Okay. Am I answering this?
We can all answer. I'll tell you from the comedy side. When I first moved to LA, I felt like there was none. I felt like there was no sense of community. And like you're saying, like you come here, everything's moving 100 miles an hour, and you're just like, I just book me. I want to please you. And I feel like now we're starting to build more of a community where we have these connections where we can reach out to each other and go, hey, what do you think about this? And like even having this conversation, I think is such an effective tool for people watching, or it's out there now for people to go, oh, choices. This is what I got to do. This is what I got to do. What about you on the acting side?
I feel like it's there. I think and this is my personal experience, I think that there's a lot of hesitation because we feel as if there's a limited space for us in the Latino community, which there is. And I think the community isn't as tight as it can be. It's growing. I believe it's becoming stronger. This being case in point, you know what I mean? But I do have some mentors, but I feel like it could be just me. We are afraid to reach out. Sometimes I'm hesitant to reach out to my community. Sometimes it could be because I haven't felt Latino enough. You know what I mean? And whether or not we admit that energy, I feel like it's there. If I don't speak Spanish, if I'm not like Boricua all the time, I don't feel as welcomed in the Latino community, which is why I do want to be involved so that I can have the presence of, I don't speak Spanish. I'm not here waving my Puerto Rican flag everywhere. And that's okay, because we're still a part of the community, and there's so many voices that need to be heard in that little category. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it can grow, obviously.
Yeah, I agree.
Your mom's is that really your mom?
That's my mother.
Hey, how are you?
What did she say?
She says, I'm Justina's mom, and all I have to say, she has changed my way of thinking when it comes to food, and I try to make better choices, and I have her to thank for that.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. You're such a great mom. I want to hug her.
She is a good mom. See, supportive.
Yeah, I had to ask. I was like, is this really a mom, or is this like a troll thing? Like, who is this? I'm gonna play devil's advocate on your answer. I feel like I agree with you. I agree that there are those. We're not as tight of a community as other people are, and I think it has a lot to do with the old guard. Like you said, like we feel like there's only room for a certain amount.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of it has to do with the old guard of because I'm looking at it from the stand-up point. So back in the day, it was like George, it was Paul Rodriguez, and that was it. So if Paul made it, his mentality was, I can't open the door for anyone else because I made it and there's no room. Same thing with George. And a lot of people knock those guys like, oh, they didn't open the doors for other Latin comedians. And I think it's up to us, exactly what we're doing here, to start uniting the community and show, no, if we move as a group, we rise. Right. Instead of having that mentality of being scared, like if knock on wood, the project I'm working on goes, I want to open the door to Latin comedians that I've worked with, that I go, okay, you guys get my voice. People like Justina, who I'm like, okay, she's just like me. I want to open the door and have it. Then it becomes more authentic instead of having a project make it, and then it's a room full of all white writers that are totally missing the mark. And that's why I think a lot of those shows fail. Like there's a lot of Latin comedy shows that make it and then fail, and it's because you got white people in the kitchen. They don't want to eat Chipotle. We're going like, what is this? This isn't
right.
This is
and the reality of the situation is, if we keep continuing this trajectory, Latinos are about to be the majority in America, which is a fact as well. So it's also very important that we all become familiar with one another, because I am Latina, Afro-Latina. I come from most of my family is dark skin. And when I moved to LA, people didn't know what I was. People thought I was just a black girl. They'd be like, oh, you speaking to me in Spanish, Like, very much like, and when I speak Spanish, they're like, where are you from, but it's very important that we do get familiar with one another and let ourselves be ourselves, and and not be afraid to play whatever character it is that we connect with, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that there has always been that stereotype of Latinos that they'll have you play, which is either like arriba arriba andale character, or the one that's like the friend or a drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
But, it's very different if we take charge of these roles and start writing the stories behind these people, see the people that aren't like them and came from the same background, and it's like just being able to say our story without people trying to embellish it in a way that makes them understand it better,
100%.
Yeah.
And that is, and you know what, that is happening,
right right now.
And but like Erik said, it's like on the surface, and then the cooks in the kitchen aren't. Right. So it's like we're taking steps forward, but it's like we got to realize that sometimes it's not enough, and we as a whole have to say that. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we're like, okay, well, they cast a Latina supporting actress, and but it's like, but who is the lead?
Right.
What does she look like? Right. Is she passable for Latina? But kind of people are thinking that she's white. You know what I mean? Like there's this confusion, and like the writers, why are 80% of them white males? You know what I mean? And it's like it's just becomes confusing, and it doesn't feel, like you said, authentic. Right. And I'm hoping that is changing, and it is, and it is.
Yes, I hope so.
It is. I mean, I was lucky enough to during this quarantine, I had booked, I guess you can say booked, Leah Daniel Butler. She had this big open monologue challenge, for actors. She could find new actors and just see the talent out there. She had no real reason why, aside from just because she loves it and she wants to see other artists. And then it became like, okay, well, the person who is the top artist gets their own one-person show. And after all the little steps, I got one, and I was, put on with a couple of writers who heard my story, and I was able to express all those challenges, as a vegan, as a Latina, as an actress, my whole journey. And I was like, wow, I would have never thought that I was able to tell my story the way I'm telling it, as authentic and raw as I'm telling it. Right. And now it has the potential to be a streaming show. We're filming it in mid-August. And amazing. So I'm really excited about that. But I was like, wow, this is a community that is like literally just hearing my story as a person. And right. I think that that's important to me, above all, like I'm a living being, and I want that to be remembered, not
what I love that you did is you did it. Like you put in that work. And that's why I feel like sometimes people get lazy, like, oh, I'm gonna wait for a showrunner to discover me. I'm like, your story better than you write your story.
Well, what's crazy is I didn't write my story. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna take credit for that. But I told them my story, and they saw it as enough.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? They said, wow, this is a great story, a story that isn't really told much, and a completely new perspective. And I think that I'm so appreciative of that, and hopefully something comes out of it. And if anything, I just at least have that experience to share. And if I were to create anything, now I know what it's like to give someone story, voice. Why is my camera being weird? I'm like putting it straight, and then it's like not.
I can see it. I can see you.
Does that make sense? Sometimes I'll like talk, and then I'm like, I like segued into 4 different.
Girl, are you a Pisces? Just like me.
We're Pisces. When's your birthday?
February 19th.
February 19th. Mine is the 12th of March.
Yeah.
All right. Before we let you go, Justina, where can people find you?
You could find me at justina.justina on Instagram, and also my vegan page. You posted it. It's just in a vegan journey, Justina vegan journey.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna talk once this is all done. I need to see how you make that mushroom
For real.
A lot of the stuff you post food wise, I'm just like, that looks amazing.
Right.
I know. I have my website. I'm still working on it because I'm not the most tech savvy, but I want to have a place where I could be like, go to my website so you can see how I did this.
Right.
Like, it's all improv cooking.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. Like I said, we met a couple months ago, and right away I was like, this girl's got crazy talent. She's got great energy.
Future gonna be big.
Woo! Samesies. Samesies. Thank you.
Our futures are gonna be great.
Like, this is amazing that you two are actually holding this platform. Like, it's so important. And I don't know too much about you, Sasha, but I know Erik is always being positive and sharing his platform, and it's so giving. Like, it's so important. It's so important what you're doing, and I appreciate you. Your light is definitely spreading.
Thank you. Thank you. Sasha, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Sasha Merci on Instagram, on Twitter. And you could also catch the Like Share Dimelo show, the episodes that have come out on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're currently working on the actual TV show. So I'm excited for that.
Ooh. I'm
Sasha's super funny. Go follow her. There's a sketch where she goes home and she's a vegan and her mom and her brother lose their minds. It's one of my favorite sketches. Look what you're doing to mom.
Oh my God, that video went so viral.
Like, I gotta watch that because that sounds.
Yeah, I have to send it to you.
Yeah. You can find me on everything at Erik Rivera Comedy. Make sure you go watch my half-hour special, Super White, streaming now on HBO Max. Even if you've seen it, go watch it again. I use the numbers, so go ahead, go do your thing. Thank you so much, Justina, for coming on. Highly enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm a big fan. And hopefully everybody watching, go follow her and learn more about her. We'll see you guys next Monday.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes.